Good evening, everyone. I think that's just about everybody. We want to be respectful of your time this evening, so I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Linda Bridwell. I'm the Executive Director at the Kentucky Public Service Commission. We appreciate you all coming out tonight. I just want to, and I'm going to go back and forth just a little bit, and I'll try not to hit the slides and block the way. So tonight's meeting is a public comment meeting on the Kentucky Utilities and LG&E rate cases. So the case numbers 2025-00113 and 2025-00114. And the reason that I make a point of emphasizing the case numbers is that if you leave here and you want to provide public comment in writing or emailing us, that you need to make sure that you reference that case number, or we really struggle to figure out which case number you're talking about. So, well, let me see if I can move the slides now. Okay. So I'll go over briefly the presentation, just the agenda for this evening. I'm going to give you a very high level update about what the case is on the application, what KU and LG&E are asking for. Then once I finish that, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions about the process of the case. And then after that, we'll go into public comments. And I want to make sure that I explain that because sometimes we get people that are expecting to come out and hear details about the case or why the case is being filed. The utility is not making a presentation tonight. The PSC is making just a high level what's being asked. We can't answer questions about the details in the case, and I'll explain a little bit more about why that is. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to come to the communities that they serve and offer an opportunity for you to comment on the case or comment on your service or those sort of things if you have an issue with the case, so that the commissioners can hear that, but they can't respond. And I said, I'll get into it just a little bit here. And then we'll talk also, this is not your last opportunity to provide public comment. If you want to hear a little bit about it tonight and then said, I'd like to learn a little more before I comment, or maybe you're uncomfortable tonight, anytime up until the case closes, you can email us. There is also a web form, and I'll give you all that information in this, or at the start of the evidentiary hearing that we'll have in Frankfort. You can come to Frankfort and you can stand up in person at the start of that hearing on the first day and make your comments there. This is the third of 4 meetings that we're having, trying to cover all of KU and LG&E's service territory so folks can come out and learn a little bit, but also learn where to find more information if you're interested. So let me explain a little bit more about the Public Service Commission. So we were created by statute in 1934. We are a 3-member administrative agency. The commissioners are appointed by the governor. They serve as a quasi-judicial or in a sense of a judge. So if you think of it like by statute, the utility cannot change their rates without coming to the commission. The commission serves as the judge. So the utility is the applicant. So in that manner, I want to make sure that you understand is by statute, the Attorney General's office is your advocate. They are the consumer advocate. So that's where you have the opposing parties, and the commission serves as a judge. So that's why when we're out here tonight, we can't answer questions about the details, because it wouldn't be fair to either party to try and answer questions about the information they've provided. I'll tell you how to go find that information. But with that said, I don't want you to come tonight and think, well, this was a waste of my time if I want to know something. If you have a question, sometimes it's a question that commissioners also may want to ask the utility. So if you have a question about something, don't hesitate to say, I have a question about this, or I'm curious about this. Now, we can't answer that tonight. We can't try and answer that tonight, but it's an opportunity for them to hear what's on your mind. So just to give you an idea, we regulate 1,100 utilities in the state of Kentucky, in addition to electric utilities, water, gas, some telephone, and then electric co-ops and water districts, water commissions. We're funded by not out of the General Assembly's general fund. We're funded through an assessment paid for by the revenues of all the utilities. And then this last part, and again, this kind of comes back to this position of being in a judicial role. Every utility, but this is under the statute, shall furnish adequate, efficient, and reasonable service at a fair, just, and reasonable rate. So that's what we're trying to get to, is what is a fair, just, and reasonable rate to continue to provide adequate and reasonable service. So utilities are not competitive. You all know that. And the purpose of they're monopolies, and the purpose of the Public Service Commission is that their rates, what they charge you, and their service is regulated by the commission. They're regulated to protect against the risk of excess profits because they're serving as a monopoly. And that's the understanding that we have. That's the understanding, that's the authority that the legislature has given the PSC. So again, this is a legal process. And I want to emphasize that again. The commissioners serve as a judge in this role. The process includes the utility files an application. They usually file an application and they say, we want to change our rates 30 days in advance. This is what we're filing. And they have to notify all of their customers that they're filing that application. Then the rates are suspended for up to 6 months. So beyond that 30 days. So it's a total of 7 months. That's called the suspension period. And that's the time this process is set in statute. So the commission then has 7 months to review the rates. At the end of that 7 months, the utility may, and I say may, place those rates into service subject to refund if the commission hasn't completed their review. At the end of 10 months, the utility, if the commission has not completed their review, then the utility automatically is allowed to place the rates into service. So obviously the commission working on your behalf is really charged under the statute of the timeline. They've got to make a decision within no more than 10 months. So that's the process that we're looking at. The parties may intervene, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the parties are that have intervened in these cases, but in order to intervene, you must be represented by an attorney. Again, this is a legal process. Then they respond to requests for information, just like you may have seen on, television, or if you've been ever involved in any sort of judicial process or legal process. The parties ask questions back and forth. You respond by answering those questions in writing. You might submit attachments. Then we'll have an evidentiary hearing. Again, this is an opportunity for the witnesses by the applicant or by the parties to be cross-examined by attorneys. This all takes place in front of the commission at the commission's offices at that time, and those hearings are open to the public. We also live stream the hearings. You can tune in any day, anytime on YouTube, and you can watch the hearing going on. You can go back later and watch them. So there will be lots of opportunities there. And then the commission issues a final order of the matter. And again, as I said, by statute, that has to be no more than 10 months from the date of the application. So the public comments, the purpose of us being here tonight, can be filed at any time during the case. There's not a time limit on it. Obviously, and I want to say the commissioners do read those public comments. They watch the tapes. We have 2 of the commissioners here tonight. The third one was not able to make it tonight, but she will watch the video of the transcript and listen to your comments tonight. If you have a friend of yours, you go home, you're talking to a family member, and they say, well, I wish I had known about it. You could say, you can watch the comments, you can watch the video. It'll be on our website. It takes about 24 hours for us to post this video. It is not being live streamed tonight, but it will all go in the case record. So this is all the proof of the case. So a couple of things you need to keep in mind about the rates. How much? The rates have to be enabled to the utility to provide adequate service, to maintain financial integrity. So they need to be able to pay their bills, pay their debt service, pay their investors. They want to be able to attract investors for favorable terms, including loans. And I want to make sure that you understand that a lot of times I'll get the question is, well, why did you let them do that? Why don't you just lower their rates and cut them in half? Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has held that rates that do not allow these things to occur is considered a taking of property. So you have to allow the utility to maintain their financial integrity. The difference being is really what's being reviewed is what is that level that's appropriate. So Louisville Gas and Electric, for those of you, since we're talking both of them, I imagine that most of you here tonight are Kentucky Utilities customers and you're interested in that case, but I will mention Louisville Gas and Electric. They generate, purchase electricity, and sell electricity in Jefferson County and portions of 8 counties surrounding that. They also purchase, store, transport, and distribute natural gas in Jefferson County and portions of 16 counties. So Louisville Gas and Electric has both. They have 335,000 gas customers and 438 electric customers. The last rate increase for LG&E was in 2021. Similar to this case, they filed them together. They are sister companies owned by the same parent company, so they filed them together in 2021. For Louisville Gas and Electric, they've proposed an increase in electric rates that will result in a $104.9 million increase in revenues, which represents about 8% of the revenues. The proposed increase in gas will result in $59.5 million increase in their revenues, or 14.0%. The proposed average monthly residential electric bill will increase $11.04 for the average customer for LG&E, which uses 866 kilowatts per hour, or kilowatt hours. The proposed average monthly residential gas bill will increase $11.12, or 14.9% for the average customer who uses 5,200 cubic feet of gas in a month. According to the applications, the request for the increase is driven primarily by investment in infrastructure. So with that, let me switch to Kentucky Utilities and give you a brief overview on this one. Again, they generate, distribute, and sell electricity in 77 counties in the state. In central, northern, southeastern, and western Kentucky, they have 547,000 customers. And their last rate increase was in base rates was in 2021. What they're asking for in this application, the proposed increase in electric rates will result in $226.1 million increase in revenues, or an additional 11.5%. The proposed average monthly residential bill will increase $18.15, or 13.6% for a customer using 1,085 kilowatt hours a month. Now, you might have noticed the KU customers use a little bit more power than the LG&E customers on an average. That's just the total amount of residential customers divided by how usage divided by how many customers they have. It's how they get to that number. According to the applications, again, that the primary driver for the request for the increase is an investment in infrastructure. So in addition to that, what LG&E and KU have asked for is a new tariff for what's called an extremely high load factor, or an AHLF tariff, data centers. That's really what the driver is behind that, is a new tariff that would allow them and go ahead and set the terms for any potential customers that are coming in as a data center. It would, in order to qualify under this tariff, they would have to have a 15-year contract term, which they're saying means that in order to qualify, that data center would have to sign on and agree that they will continue to buy electricity for 15 years. They would have to have large demands, more than 100 megavolts, and very high load factors, above 85%. They've also asked for a revised net metering tariff for customers who have already have net metering. It would revise that amount that is being contracted with the customer. So if you have particularly solar on your residence and you have a net meter that has been installed by them, so that when it's a real sunny day and you're generating more electricity than you may use in your home, you actually are selling it back to the utility. And it's a new tariff on what that rate would be, what that amount would be. In the 2025 00113, which is the Kentucky Utilities case, there is a slight difference between which parties have intervened. So I mentioned the Attorney General's office. Attorney General Coleman is by statute the consumer advocate for the state. He's your representative in the case. We also have the Kentucky EAIA, the Kentucky Industrial Utilities Customers, the Kentucky Broadband and Cable Association. We have a joint between the Department of Defense and the federal executive agencies. The joint interveners, the Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, Kentucky Solar Energy Society and Metropolitan Housing Coalition. And what that means is they are sharing an attorney. They may share witnesses. They are speaking in one voice in this in this proceeding. We also have the Sierra Club has intervened in this case. Walmart has intervened in this case. They are actually a large customer of both LG&E and KU because of the number of facilities they have, as well as Kroger companies. And then for the KU rate case, the city of Lexington or the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Government has also intervened. For LG&E, the parties, again, are very similar, the difference being mainly the Louisville Metro government instead of the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Government. And under the joint interveners, it's the Metropolitan Housing Coalition specifically to LG&E. So we have, as I mentioned, there are 4 public comment meetings. This is our 3rd one. We had one in Louisville on September 8th. Earlier this week, we had one in Lexington on October 14th. Then tonight, and at the end of the month, we'll actually be in Madisonville on October 30th for public comment. So if you'd like to go back and watch any of those, the other ones are online on the website. The hearing in Frankfort will begin on Monday, November 3rd at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is expected to continue for a number of days. You can tune in and watch at any point. You don't have to watch start to finish. You can pick it up, go back and watch parts of it or pick it up on Tuesday if you miss Monday. The hearing is open to the public. You can come to our offices and sit through the entire hearing if you'd like. Again, we will have public comments at the beginning of the first day at the hearing at 9 a.m. in our offices. So I did get a question on Tuesday night. Right now, we are not planning on having virtual public comments. We're trying to transition. It's a really difficult technology to get those into the record, but we certainly are still looking at if there's an expectation for on the first day of the hearing, if you would like to make a virtual public comment, let us know in the public comments. We just haven't had a lot of people utilize that, and it's a challenge on our technology. So we've kind of said, okay, we may move a bit away from that. We did that during COVID because people weren't able to come to the hearings, but we're kind of moving back away from that. The final order, as I mentioned, that 10 months, the final order must be entered by March 30th, 2026. So that's the timeline that the commission is working on. So with all that, this is your chance to ask questions about the process of the case. Again, if you ask me details, and I apologize, I'll tell you now, I won't be able to answer them. Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you work? How much electricity I need?
So, Kentucky Utilities or LG&E, if you're a customer of them, are reading the meter. So
okay. I have no meter. I keep getting a bill. I paid $400 this month. And they're threatening to cut me out again on the 28th. I don't understand. And I have no meter, but now my electricity is on. So okay. How do you have electricity without meter?
So if we will get your name and telephone number, and we'll make sure that someone from our consumer services office calls, and sometimes we can work with the utility to talk to you about that. So, okay?
I'm the only one that
okay.
Everybody else had.
Okay.
As the septic tank runs off of my direction.
Okay. So what other questions do you have about the project?
Probably wants to speak, comes to the mic.
Well, so that's what we do, the public comment. I can do that, I'm sorry. Okay.
I think she had heard my complaint. If I can write down my address and get a meeting.
Sure, could you give me
Okay.
Okay, I will see what I can do about, yes ma'am. And again, do you have a question about the process?
Yes, I'm not ready to speak yet.
Okay.
This thing that you said about the tariff, these businesses are allowed to pose tariffs on some of their customers.
So let me explain a little bit if that helps. Okay.
Is a tariff, let's be clear, is a tariff, before you explain, is it a tax?
No. No, let me explain. No, so let me explain. When I say tariffs, when I'm talking about utilities, this is not a tariff in the same sense of a tariff like you would put on an item. So in the utility world, when we say tariff, that's the rates they charge you. So we call it a tariff sheet. So it's the same thing as saying this is what the rates are. So it is not the same as an economic tariff like you would pay a tax on something being imported in. We got that question Tuesday night and I misunderstood and didn't answer that. So
So that's one of the things they said they wanted to raise their rates for because of tariffs and
I think what them should do is that
unrelated accounting requests.
okay, now if they're raising their tariffs because of tariffs they're having to pay on equipment, that might be a case. But I want to make sure that when I'm talking about tariffs, when I use that word a lot, that's the rates the utility is charging. So now there may be tariffs on equipment they are buying, but that may be part of the infrastructure cost.
most tariffs for data centers and things like that's not for the individual home use.
Right. So
That is
So-
that are made for you, but it's not calling to get this amount that wash and just.
But it seems to be like tariff is a tax, not a wages, according to the
Good sense, it is.
So again, what the word I'm using, that's what the commission is setting. That's the rate that they're setting. It's also, I know it's become very confusing because tariffs have become a big issue in the last few months, and I it's just a word we've been using for decades. And yes, sir.
Okay.
You just mentioned that about the tariff situation that's only on the corporations. From my understanding, right now KU pays back 1-to-1 for people with solar. And the way I understood it, is this tariff mean that KU in this proposal can change that 1-to-1 to like just, you have to have 2 watts of solar power before they'll give you $1 back? Is that giving them the right to on somebody with personal solar power to change the rate?
Yeah. Let me see.
So it's not just on corporations, it's on personal people too.
Yeah, let me see if I can explain that again. So when we use the word tariff, we're talking about the rates the utility charges. And for solar, it's also the rate they give you back credit for if you're putting it out there. It's a rate or a tariff, so you can use that interchangeably. I think what this lady was asking about, so if Kentucky Utilities is saying that they're, and I have not looked at that detail, don't confuse that with if their expenses, their cost of operating has gone up because of tariffs they're having to pay, then that would be an increase in that sense of the tax. But the tariffs we're talking about here are just the rates that customers pay, whether it's a business, a data center. The one I talked about was just for the data center or for solar. Or personal. It's the same as the rate. So it's
That means KU can, if you all approve it, change the rate from 1-to-1. Right now they're paying 1-to-1. So if you all approve of their tariff, say example on me, they can change my rate in return. I'll have to, my solar power will have to do 2 kilowatts and only get $1.
yes. So that would be the rate that they're giving back to
Personal
you
solar people are going to be affected too if this goes
under that
Not
tariff.
just
Yes.
corporations or businesses.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be personal people
Yes, sir.
too. Low income personal people with solar power.
Yes, sir.
Fixed
Okay.
income.
So what other questions? Because I know you all are probably anxious to make comments, and I want to make sure that I get there. But if you have a few more questions, yes, ma'am.
Now, I know that it does cost a lot of money to run electricity to businesses and homes, but I've got a question because here in the eastern Kentucky, it's really expensive. In eastern Kentucky, it's more expensive to have our electric bill than it is in other places of Kentucky. Which I know a lot of that is from the lack of job and industry. So see, what I'm trying to figure out, if you're all going to impose an 11% increase on a little area here that's already suffering, and then And on top of that, the downtown, the girls are no longer there. I mean, there's jobs there gone, along with electricians.
I think you need to ask that question in the public comments, okay? So, and that's the type of question I can't answer for you. So those are the sort of things. So, let me, and I know folks are interested in making comments, so I want to, do you have another question, sir?
Just a thing. No. You say the rate increased since 2021, but wasn't there an earlier rate increase back a few months ago with KU? What is the difference? And I know somehow or another they worded it that wouldn't officially a rate, but officially it comes out of my pocket. And now it's going to come out of my pocket again, possibly.
So their base rates have not changed since 2021. They are required to send out a notice, and they sent it out. My guess is they sent it out because of the filing in May that they were proposing this increase. Now, in addition to that, utilities, energy utilities in the state of Kentucky also have some tariffs or rates that include the recovery of fuel adjustment. And so the fuel adjustment changes depending, and it's just a simple pass-through on what those fuel costs are. So that may be what you're talking about, but you can... Oh, and then the CPCN, they were seeking approval, but there was no change in the rates based on that CPC.
Selling bonds.
The financing case, I don't remember. Well, we can talk a little bit afterwards.
And I'm sorry, I didn't really hear it, but you're talking about fuel rates. Well, my fuel rate changes too, and I don't get the lead.
No, so that's by statute. The utilities are allowed to, rather than waiting to the next rate case and having more frequent rate cases, that it goes up or down depending on what their fuel prices they pay for generating electricity. Okay, I can tell, I think folks are kind of anxious to get into the public comment, so I don't want to hold it up. What I want to make sure is I emphasize it again. So if you're sitting here and you were expecting more of a presentation and you want to go learn more about it, the entire case record, you can look at everything that Kentucky Utilities or LG&E have filed. You can look at what the other parties have filed. It's all in the case record. It's by this case information. You can also file public comments. There's a web form. All you have to do is go to our website, go to Contact Us tab. It's a drop-down tab. About the third heading down is to submit a comment in a case. You put in that case number, you put in your name, and it automatically goes into the case record. So that will be, and it's all part of it's part of the public record. You can also send it to our email address. You need to include your name and the case number, but that's our email address. It takes us about 24 hours to get those posted. Or if you want to just simply write to the commission, you can do that as well. Again, this is our address. I will leave this up during the public comment period so that if you need to take a picture of it on your phone or you write it down, like I said, don't feel like this is your only opportunity. If you go home and you're talking to somebody and say, oh, I forgot to say that, send us a public comment. If you have some other issue that you want to bring up after reading some of the public comments or reading some of the record, I want to make sure you understand that we appreciate you coming out tonight, and we really do appreciate, we want to hear from the public on this. But I want to make sure that everybody understands that if you weren't able to come tonight, that is not your only opportunity. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chair Hatton so that we can get into the public comments.
Okay. Wow, did I do that? Let there be light. Hi, my name is Angie Hatton. I'm chair of the Kentucky Public Service Commission, and with me tonight is Commissioner Andrew Wood. Commissioner Regan couldn't join us, but as Linda said, she will watch the video of this hearing, and we always read public comments. We're here tonight to hear public comments about KU and LG&E requests for a rate increase. We are not required to come out and go into the communities and listen. We do it because we want to hear what you have to say. We do read your comments, and very often, if you watch our hearings, you'll see that we ask questions that were asked at hearings like this. We take notes. When something's interesting, we will ask the utilities during the case about some of the things you guys bring up. Also, by coming forward and giving public comment, all of your public comments, as Linda said, will be in the case records. It's as if you testified. It will stay in the case record. It's available for other people to see. And when you write us or email us, those comments come in as well. So we can't answer your questions tonight because we're the judges. We can't prejudge a case, but we can listen to your comments. And they do matter because we listen and we'll take them and sometimes ask at those hearings. So what we're going to do tonight is when I'm going to go through this sheet, and if you indicated that you wanted to speak, I'll call your name, and you can come up to this microphone right here and state your full name and your address, and then we'll start a timer. And we're going to give everybody 5 minutes. And in any time in a case like this, there are strong emotions, and people feel strong emotions when their pocketbooks are threatened, and we understand that. But we're going to ask everyone to be respectful. We haven't had a case yet where people weren't able to be respectful while other people are talking. And we'll ask you to stick to that time limit because it just respects everyone else's time. If someone talks 2 hours, that means other people won't get a chance to talk because they'll have to get home to pick up kids or have church obligations or whatever reason. So at 5 minutes apiece, I'll call names. I'm going to go through the whole list of people that said yes, they want to speak. And then I'll ask again at the end if anybody has changed their mind and said no but would like to speak. Anybody who wants to talk is going to get a chance. We're going to stay here until everybody that wants to talk to us gets a chance to talk to us. That's why we drove down here tonight, so we could hear what y'all have to say. Again, like Linda said, if you decide not to talk tonight, but you want to say something to us later, you can always email us and make sure and put that case number on, either 2025-113 or 2025-114. And you can email that to psc.comment@ky.gov. You can get all of this information on our website. It's psc.ky.gov under the Contact Us tab. And you can continue to submit comments all the way up until we've made our decision or when we close the case, right before we make our decision. And you can also come the day of the hearing to Frankfort, and there'll be another microphone set up, and you can come and speak that day. So Commissioner Wood has agreed to be my timer, and his little alarm will go off after 5 minutes. The first person that signed up to speak was Albie Brock. If you'll just tell us your full name and your address, and then we'll start the timer.
Pardon?
Just tell us your full name and address, and then we'll start the timer.
178 Cross Creek Road, Kettle Island, Kentucky.
Okay.
Pardon? Is this on? Can you all hear me? I normally don't have a problem being heard in a room this size. Having said that, I want to say something to the folks that are here. Just to put it in, I guess, plain terms. There's going to be 3 people. 3. Decide. These 2 and 1 other. And as the lady said, they're judges. They're not the one raising their increase, so let's be polite to them. I had someone insinuate today that I was a bully, and I'm trying not to be a bully and trying to protect others. So let's be nice to them. Having said that, and knowing that you're a judge, I'm here tonight to highlight that while, you can put a number up there and it says $18 a month. $18 a month to a senior on fixed income, that's a lot of money. That's not a small number. And there are a whole lot of people in this community that I represent. And before Commissioner Hatton was Commissioner Hatton, she was Representative Hatton. Correct? All right, and I'm saying that a compliment. I've watched a lot of sessions on KET, ma'am, where you've risen to the floor of the House and very, very passionately articulate for the people I'm talking about tonight. The poor people, the fixed income people, the unfortunate. And if you're a judge in this, quite frankly, ma'am, 11% is a crime. That's a crime. It would be different if KU were broke, if we were staring down the threat of the power might go out because the infrastructure was so bad, and those same people I'm advocating for would be in the cold. Would be a totally different story. But I think I think the commission knows, KU is fiscally healthy. they're doing good. They're not having problems getting bonds or getting people to loan them money. It would be my humble guess that banks are lined up to loan KU money. So some of the justification to the case, to me, again, it's a crime. So you have that power, harken and larken back to the days in which you were advocating for the people in your district. I think it's Letcher County, is that correct? Go back to that. I know it's in your heart to say, no, 11% is too much, and I'm a realist. This is not my first one of these meetings, and I know KU is going to get a rate increase. When I walked through that door, I knew KU was going to get a rate increase. You know that, okay? They don't ask if they don't know they can get it, and it is what it is. But 11%, that's too much. That's just too much. At a minimum, negotiate this thing down to where instead of it's $18 a month for an 80-year-old widow who counts every single dime. She doesn't leave any change on the counter for the next person that's coming up behind her. She takes that. That's a relevant number to her. Yeah, there's many in this room. $18 is not going to change their quality of life. But there's a whole lot not in this room, and maybe some in it that it would. 11% is too high. So, again, I'm going to say it one last time, and I'm going to sit down so others can speak. There's nobody in this room came here to support this. Am I right in that? I mean, is there anybody in here that supports this? So it goes without saying that everybody showed up tonight's against this. No matter how many step up here and speak or how eloquently they do it or not, we're all against it, and it is going to create a hardship on a lot of people at 11%. So while I didn't walk through that door thinking I could say anything that was going to stop KU from getting a rate increase, I'm humbly, reasonably asking you, make it at least reasonable. And I don't know what that is, but 11% is a crime. So thank you.
Thank you. The next on the list is, looks like Angela Jackson.
Just for the record, a tariff is a tax. You can play it any way you want to, but it's a tax. So you're asking for 11.5% raise on electric, and LG&E is asking for 8.3 raise on electric and 14 raise on natural gas. And these, if this is correct, these two companies have one parent company, so this is going to be for three companies that are going to get this. If you base these rates on tariffs and related accounting requests, are these unrelated accounting requests more dividends for stockholders with just a little bit of monopoly profiteering? The president is in love with energy companies. Drill, baby, drill. Very little regulation. Coal coming back. What tariffs? I'll tell you who pays tariffs. Everyone who is a customer of utility or a grocery store or McDonald's. In short, everyone who does business with you. Those raises you want amount to 25.5% raise on Kentuckians. That is shameful profiteering. 25.5% across the board for businesses and other customers will start a domino effect of disaster for Kentuckians, especially in mountain communities. I'm going to give you some constructive criticism. Many times pencil pushers look at facts, figures, and profits. The bottom line does not always take into consideration the human condition. Pencil pushers are not around the masses and don't think about how bad profiteering affects them. So I'm asking you to look at us as human beings. Stop looking at us in the abstract. We are not a Salvador Dali painting. Please deny these outrageous rate hikes. Please do not reward a monopoly who is profiteering off the tariffs and wanting more money for shareholders, or as they call it, related accounting requests. Quit squeezing the poor. We are human beings. Quit putting seniors in danger. They are already losing their Social Security benefits. This next year is full of peril for seniors and poor people. We all are losing traditional safety nets. Again, to grant these obscene rate increases would start a domino effect of disastrous proportions. Are you, the people, going to be the first to fall, the first domino to fall, or will you stand for the voters? Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list looks like, I apologize if I pronounce it wrong, but Joe Hammondtree. Did I get that right?
That's close enough. I just, while I was at work today, wanted to write down a few things to say. I'm Joe Hammondtree, 5th District Magistrate. My address 12192 Highway 190, Pineville, Kentucky. I was looking, LG&E and KU's parent company recorded profits in the last 12 months of $6.156 billion. That's a large amount of money. It is, and asking for a lot of people that struggle, 11%. KU's profits are mixed in with the parent company. I don't know. I tried to find that. I couldn't find it, so I don't know where that's at. Let the parent company put the money back into it instead of hurting the people. And with inflation, families are barely getting by. This is like an added tax to them, which we don't need. Go back to burning coal. It's cheaper. China's opening up coal-fired power plants weekly. I am for KU and its employees, but against continuing increasing electric bill hikes. Maybe I.
Next is Greta Adams.
Give it up here. My name is Greta Adams. I live here in Middlesboro. I'm one of these fixed income old people, and I get a 2.5% COLA increase this year. It's projected that we'll get a 2.8% next year. That's not even close to the 11% that KU's asking for. And what I looked up, what I found was that I never know how to talk with these things. What I found is that in the last month, their revenues went up 16.5%, and that's up 12% from a year ago. That's a lot of money for this company, and not much money for us. So I'm like Albie, I know they're going to get a rate increase, but give them a COLA increase at 2%.
Amen.
Ron L. Johnson. And again, if I pronounce something wrong, so just please correct me. Microphone's right there, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Romel Johnson. My address is 114 Tunnel View Circle, Middlesboro, Kentucky, and I'm here to speak regarding case number 2025-00113. I'm sure in your travel around the state, you have been reminded of what Governor Andy Beshear has said about the passage of the beautiful bill. He has been vocal since the bill's introduction that it was dangerous in more ways than one. Jobs will be lost, hospitals, nursing homes, and clinics will close. Rural communities will suffer. Living costs will go up, and worst of all, people will die from being thrown off of health coverage. This vote puts politics over people, and our country, our people deserve better. Commissioners, you may not be willing to admit it, but the United States economy is rigged against poor and middle-income people. Today, you have arrived at ground zero. Median household income in Bell County, Kentucky is $32,403. In 2024, 16% of the population in Bell County was living with severe housing problems. 27.1% of the population for whom poverty status is determined in Bell County live below the poverty line, a number that is more than 2 times higher than the national average of 12.4%. The largest demographic living in poverty are females 55 to 64 who still must pay an electric bill. In 2024, 40.2% of Bell County children were living in poverty. It has also been noted by one of 3 Bell County school districts that it has at least 66 homeless children in school. Kentucky Utilities offers a budget plan supposedly to help customers manage their energy costs. I was recently talking with a friend. She and I both participate in the budget plan. However, we realize that our monthly budget plan payments have tripled over the last 10 years. And if the Public Service Commission grants this 11.5 rate increase, our monthly payments will be 4 times more than we were paying 10 years ago. Yet none of our incomes have grown 4 times as much over the same 10-year period. When will this madness stop? Kentucky Utilities is a monopoly. We have nowhere else to turn for our electricity, and Kentucky Utilities continues to charge customers for services. Kentucky Utilities should be encouraged to do things like other businesses do. Encouraged to reduce their costs, come up with incentives to be more efficient, give smaller bonuses, look for internal inefficiencies, reduce waste, and return a portion of profits to their customers rather than giving such a lion's share to shareholders. Companies that manage resources effectively can reduce costs and increase margins. I believe that if we were talking about any other company other than KU, you would encourage that company to utilize these practices first before coming directly to their customers to fund tariff changes. Kentucky Utilities reported a net income of approximately $200 million for the year 2024. KU will be all right without raising rates that we, the customers of Eastern Kentucky, cannot afford to pay. As consumers, we can try to get by without certain things, but we must have electricity to provide illumination for our homes and public spaces, to power refrigerators, microwaves, our washing machines, and more, to use our HVAC systems, to keep medical equipment running, and just to keep Grandma from falling at night on her way to the bathroom. Commissioners, please read my lips and listen to my heart. People of Eastern Kentucky should not have to bear the burden of 11.5% rate increase, while KU continues to rake in millions of dollars in profit. It is both unreasonable and unfair. We are responding to KU's request by asking that the fluidity of tariffs are unknown and there should be 1, no rate increase, or if there is an increase, a smaller increase in rate. And if not, then preferably let's postpone any rate increase until 2029, when KU and all of us will know better about the outcomes of tariffs. We do not know how bleak the future will be for any of us, but I sincerely ask that as you lay your head down tonight on a warm pillow, you remember three things. First, Kentucky Utilities will continue to make profits, even at its current rate. Next, remember that each of you were appointed to the PSC to make decisions that are for the betterment of all the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, not just a corporation. And last, remember, as the scripture reads, then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you as a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, today I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Commissioners, see us. Commissioners, hear us.
All right, this next one, I can't read the last name, but it's Roger D. It starts with a P. Roger D. Pear or Pew. 111 Abbey Lane.
Right.
Price. Okay.
My name's Roger Price. I live at 11 Abbey Lane here in Middlesboro. I've been back here in Middlesboro for about 18 years. I know several people in this room. It does me good to see our politicians here, Mr. Maiden, Mr. Brock, Mr. Bowling, our mayor, Mr. Bowling. And I'm 70 years old. I live on a fixed income. I had a very good job with CSX Railroad for 30 years. I'm very appreciative of that. And on my railroad retirement, I think the total may have come out today. Our Social Security rate increase is probably going to be 2.7%. We're already 8.9% in the hole. And that's not counting for myself and my wife. I do all the cooking, I do all the shopping. $800 a month for the two of us to eat. It's a fad ever since COVID. Everybody wants a rate increase. Your insurance company, my auto insurance has just went up $50 a month on the renewal. My homeowner's insurance went up $200 on the year. So that's another hole that I've dug into. Anywhere you go, anything you buy is higher than it's ever been. Because if this group gets a raise to sell groceries, then this group selling insurance wants their raise too. That's not how it should work. People, especially in Bell County, I don't know what the percentage is, but if you're an 18, 19-year-old graduating high school, you might have 10% that can stay here and make a living to support themselves, much less a family. And it's got to stop somewhere. And these gentlemen are here, I think, to gauge the attitude of all the folks here. And I think everybody here is against this. I have seen rate increases. I've lived in Georgia, Kentucky, India, numerous places. I've never seen a public utility, which is what KU is, ask for 11.5%, except they know that if they don't get, they ask for 11.5, we'll take 8. And that's how it works. Just like selling a car. But I don't know how much longer people can make it. The federal government, under the present regime, is fixing to cut off 10 million people off Medicaid. And all this other stuff. The government shut. The politics, in this country, civil war is right around the corner. And a lot of it is because not KU, but everybody. Mm-hmm. Politics is killing this country. And our pockets, mine can't stand it. I don't have it. If I had to put $5,000 together today, I don't have it. I'd say most people in this room don't have it. Coal died here. It's gone. I don't care. It's never coming back. This, to me, spells data center. That's the big new thing, data center. They devour energy. States that have been planning to close coal-powered utility plants because of the pollution are being forced to keep them open and lose millions of dollars every month because the federal government wants data centers. I didn't have a prepared speech. I'm rambling, but this is my first time that I've ever come to something like this. But we, as people, especially in this county, because we're poor. I didn't know it. There's no other word about it. We're poor. Please, Kentucky Utilities, there was something about their finances, I can't remember exactly, maintain their liquidity, whatever. They're not about to go broke. They're nowhere close to broke. They just want their cut. Well, everybody wants their cut. And we're cut to death. I am. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Rick Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming to Middlesboro. A lot of the things that I wanted to comment on have already been said, but first of all, we do want to welcome you here, and I'm opposed to any increase. Now, our colleague, a lot of you don't know him, Jim Stewart, says there's only been one time in the history of the Public Service Commission that they got a 0. So this would be good history making maybe to give them a 0 now. I don't think they deserve any increase considering their profits. I also read, if it was true, that their CEO makes about $13 million. So that's a lot of money. That's kind of more than a retired teacher makes, but that is a lot to consider when you all are deciding this. Secondly, I want to say that most of us here that are opposed to this, we are not talking negative about any KU employee in this county. We've got a bunch of employees at the call center. Billy, this is nothing about the KU. Cecil, if you're listening down at 4 Mile, nothing about you because you don't make the decision for the increases. That's someone else. Now, the way I understand it, Madam Chair, is KU has produced a bunch of documents asking for this raise, and then our advocate as a citizen, Attorney General Coleman, is going to take a look at the documents and going to present his case to you. And then you guys have got a tough decision on what to do. And I think, as Judge Brock mentioned, I don't think it's ever been a 0. But what I have found out through my years,
is a utility asks for this much, they'd like to get this much, but they only deserve this much. So you always ask for more than you want, hoping you'll split the difference. And if you look at all the rate increases over the past 25 years, you'll always find out it's about half of what they asked for. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Then I've got one complaint maybe you can help me with. It's this service charge on these electric bills. Has anybody got a service charge on their electric bills? Now listen to this. I got an outdoor building, 24 by 24, and I've got electricity, and I had to cut it off, though. My electric bill for July of last year was 12 cents, a dime and 2 pennies. But you know what the service charge was? $41. So I don't know how you use 12 cents of electricity. I guess you turn the light on and maybe flip it back off. But I had to pay $40 on a 12-cent electric bill. So it wasn't really worth it to keep it. So I decided just to drop that service. I appreciate you all being here. I'm going to respectfully ask for a 0, but please listen to the folks. Maybe they've said something that'll spark a light bulb or something, and do the best you can for these people, because we need it, and we're all ratepayers. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Roy Ambergy.
One guy already touched on the data centers. What little I know, and kind of look at things without blinds on like a mule, the data centers being built is one that's going to suck the electricity. And the infrastructure, I see where KU has to do infrastructure to keep up with the data centers. And I'm thinking, and I've heard a little bit, that these data centers maybe are going to get subsidized or either get a break on their electricity because they use a lot. And so it looks like to me that KU, if this is happening, is turning right around and going to look at me and us to make up the difference for their infrastructure to take care of the big data centers. I have a friend that is a safety supervisor on one of the data centers in a city, and they're getting ready to hook up to that, and they have big lines about this big, and you have to wear a special suit to work and hook those lines up, because there's so much electricity is going to be pushed through those lines that they're dangerous, and they put off like a radiation. So you have to have a special suit on to work with those. So them data centers, the Amazons, the AI, all that, them's the ones that should be footing this 11% increase if KU deserves it, not me or not us. And if they are going to get a discount or some kind of subsidies because they use a lot of electricity, and they'll be paying KU a lot of money, or other places all around the country. I'm talking about the whole country on the AI centers and the big data centers. You know, them's the people that should be adding and paying full bills, not us on fixed income. But I feel like that is getting trickled down more towards us instead of trickling towards the big data centers. And billionaires take care of billionaires. I feel that. And we're in that kind of situation in the United States of America right now.
Rachel Megan Rains.
Sorry if I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before, but I didn't realize that you two were the commissioner, so thank you for coming. I'm sure it's a little bit scary coming into what could have been a hostile, because this affects everybody here, but I'm here this evening. Because I saw a flyer on Facebook about the increase.
I'm fortunate and blessed enough that this hike won't affect me personally. But a quote in the flyer is what brought me here. And the quote was, if you don't show up and speak up, you will need not cry over spilled milk. Just get your coins and be quiet. So I'm here speaking for those who couldn't come, most likely the very people it will hurt the most, for the elderly, the disabled, for the single parent who couldn't afford to miss work to attend this meeting. Not everyone has a 9-to-5. For the family that didn't have the extra gas to make a trip out, for whatever reason, they couldn't be here, I am. 11.5% doesn't sound like a lot, but for one of the ones that I mentioned above and many more, it could be devastating and most likely will. At a time when everything is going up, I can't see how an added charge on electric, the one resource someone can't go without, is going to help anyone except for the CEOs and the bigger corporations. To those who couldn't be here in person, please call in, write your representatives, raise your voice. You will be heard. I just want to leave with the Bible verse. I think Miss Johnson actually said the same one I did. It was Matthew 25:40. It says, whatever you did for the one of the least of these, brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And I just want to thank you for your time.
Virginia Campbell.
My name is Virginia Campbell, and I live here at 1716 Middlesboro. I thank you for coming and listening to our comments. I am no speaker. I'm pushing 70, and this is the first time I've ever stood up in front of a group and spoke in my life. But that's another reason I'm here. I've worked all my life just to live on nothing. You can ask my grandson. I went out in the car today to warm up because I'm afraid to come. He died. And I hate it, my baby. But this could be very devastating for people like me, and I know a lot of them that couldn't be here today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next one says Bob and Edie Harris. One or both of you? It's all right. Thank you for your service, and if you change your mind, I'll give you a chance at the end. Matthew Smith. I think it says Matthew Smith. "69 Mason Atkinson Street or Drive, Matthew Smith." I'll call it again at the end in case he stepped out. Thomas Mike.
Evening, Commission. Yeah, just like you. Here we go. My name's Thomas Mike. I live at 500 South 35th Street, and I stand here in front of you today not as a politician, not as a businessman, but a citizen, father, a teacher, and a Kentuckian who is tired of seeing the working people pay the price of corporate decisions. We are here tonight because the Kentucky Utilities has asked for an 11.5% rate increase, which is absolutely insane, with already on top of sky-high costs that people are barely making it by. Let's be clear, this isn't about numbers or spreadsheets. This is about families, real people who are already paying $250 to $300, if not more, for their monthly payments. And that's just for homes running. This isn't a luxury bill. That's the cost of heat, of air conditioning, of keeping the lights on for their children to do the homework, or people in nursing homes or so forth with elderly. At an extra 11.5% might not sound like much to some of you sitting up there, but here, there's the difference between groceries or electricity. medicine or comfort, survival or hardship. We are being asked to pay more for less and to stay silent while we do it, but tonight we will not. Kentucky Utilities tells us that they're tightening their belts by making things more efficient and planning for the future. But where is that efficiency? When does it come to us? Let's talk about our Middlesboro KU office. Our local office was closed on May 31st, 2024 and is now listed for nearly $950,000. That's a building paid for and maintained by the same people now being told to pay higher bills. KU says it's no longer used in operations, but they've never explained why closing it helps us. If you're saving money by shutting down the community offices, then why are you asking us to pay more? We've all heard KU talk about investing in renewable energy. They built a 120 megawatt solar farm with a 125 megawatt battery storage facility in Mercer County. And that's good. We do support progress. But if we're building solar farms to reduce long-term costs, then why do our bills keep rising? Why is our savings going to the people for profit line? You can sell innovation to the public you cannot sell innovation to the public while you're billing them into poverty. If progress doesn't make life better for ordinary Kentuckians, who is it really for? Now let's talk about the leadership with Kentucky Utilities. The Kentucky Utilities power companies aren't struggling. In fact, other major Kentucky utilities like Eastern Kentucky Power Cooperative, their CEO's compensation exceeds almost $967,000 per year, with other earnings over $500,000, if not more. I couldn't find KU's exact CEO salary, but with what Mr. Nelson had touched on, I doubt that somebody that sits in an executive office is worrying about the difference between their light bill and their groceries. To the members of the Public Service Commission, we thank you for being here, but we want you to remember the public service means that you are here for us. You are here to make sure that there is no wrong, that you are here to represent us and to make sure that we can make it in life because that's why you were put there. Reject this increase. Tell KU to look inward and to trim from the top, not from the people. Tell them to reinvest in the communities they left behind, like ours. And demand transparency, not from hiding salaries, no more decisions made in boardrooms 2 hours away from us. We deserve to know where every dollar is going before you take another one out of our pocket. Middlesboro isn't a city with deep pockets. We're proud. We're a working class town built on miners, teachers, small business owners, and people who love this community. We've watched factories close, stores leave, and costs rise. But through it all, we have stayed resilient. What we won't do is quietly accept another burden placed on our backs by a company that claims to serve us. We're not asking for charity, we're just asking for justice, transparency, and common sense. Because when you raise rates on a struggling community, you don't just take money, you take away dignity, hope, and opportunity. And that's a price that we are not willing to pay. To the Kentucky Utilities and to those who are making these decisions, we see you, every one of you. We see the closed offices, the record profits, and the executive pay, and the shiny new solar projects will somehow never lower our bills. And we will say with respect and conviction, no more. No more rate hikes on the backs of the working class. No more asking for communities to sacrifice while others profit. No more silence. Middlesboro has had enough, and tonight you will hear us. Thank you, Commission.
Thank you. Mark Hensley. Could be Mary Hensley. Mark.
I didn't come here with any intentions of speaking. I failed sophomore English because I wouldn't get up in front of my class, but this is more important. We've heard that they're making record profits, billions of dollars, while we are living on a fixed income. And when we get a raise, it goes to our health insurance. It eats it up. So we're losing ground. While they're making billions of dollars, and there was a clause, I think the lady said, that their fuel is going to be, we have to pay for their fuel. So their record profits are going to continue while we pay to make sure that their profits are maintained. This AI and all this, it's eating the power up, and we're going to foot the bill. And I find it funny that the guy that installed my electronic meter told me one of the advantages was that they could turn my electricity off from the office. And so if we don't see where all this is headed, we're blind. And so if the rate increase, in my opinion, should be zero, because they're making millions and millions on the backs of the working people, ex-coal miners that are broke down and broke. Like the guy said, this is a hard-working community. We don't have spare change to throw around. Grocery bills are astronomical along with everything else, but yet we're going to maintain the CEO's, who knows, salaries. And so I just ask that they have zero increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Thelma Brooks.
Thelma Brooks, Middlesboro, Kentucky. Got two things. One, are y'all hiring in the higher up office? Because I need a third job to pay my bills. If I get a job that makes that kind of money, I can quit the other two. Sorry. As a widow who's left holding all the bills, I asked for zero. That is why I'm having to get a third job, is to pay my bills, and I was left 40. We cannot afford it in Belton. Speaking of, well, if everyone would look at their bills that they have in their hands, I'd actually called on this. There is a home energy efficient fuel charge. Yeah, it's just 30 cents. So I called. What is this code for? It goes to help the people pay their bills that can't pay it. I'm having to pay it for these people. It's too sorry to get out and get a job. But I'm working 3. We'll be working 3. Can't afford it. So if you know of a job, let me know. I'll get you my address. Thank you. And then also when I called them on that, they said it wasn't the KU that passed that. They have nothing to do with it. So I advise everybody to call the KU and ask about it. 30 cents for everyone, and that's including Bell County, Knox County, part of Lee County, Virginia uses KU. It's not just Kentucky. If they collect 30 cents per person, how much are they getting to help these people pay their bills instead of helping us pay our bills? I was told by the KU that it was the legislators that passed that bill, and they couldn't do anything about it. Any comment on that, Mr. Boland?
Well, no, not accurately that. I don't know that there's nothing that recently, something wrong with.
This has been on there for a while. If you don't mind, check on it.
Yeah.
Because that 30 cents to me, if I can work, by golly, they can work. They can work. I don't care if it's a pencil pusher. They can work at McDonald's. I've been there, done that. Don't hurt me a bit. They can work, rather than me working 3 jobs to pay their bills. Thank you.
Brenda Turner.
I've never done this before, but it's hard. It's hard to make it on what we do we just have Social Security, and it's really hard. And it's hard on everybody that's living on Social Security. Some can't afford it, but it's not right. It's not right to just bring it up.
think it's Senator Mader next. You'll have to fight Representative Bowling for last. He signed up last, but you two fight it out. I'm going to go through the list, and then if you haven't signed up, I'll let you go to that. How about that one right there? That'd be easier.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. So first of all, I want to tell you a story about something that happened today in Frankfort. I attended a meeting with Kentucky Power that is proposing a 15% increase for Letcher, Knott, Floyd, some other counties over that way, if that makes you feel any better. But the bad thing about it, also today, something happened yesterday. These folks, I have a lot of faith in them. And they don't work for me. They don't work for Adam. I get they're appointed by the government. They work for us. They're paid with tax dollars. We had the commissioner in front of us for over 2 hours last month, grilling her. Ask her a lot of hard questions. The same things you are saying is the same things that legislators told her. Very passionately, same thing, people we represent. But what I want to tell you, what happened yesterday, there was a judge overturned a ruling that they made. They denied $15 million to Kentucky Power last year. And I tell you that, I tell you that because I want you all to have the same confidence in them that I do. Now, I'm going to be honest, I used to not, but I didn't know enough. I did not know enough. So their job is to be impartial, and I have no doubt the commissioner's facing a 15% increase where she lives. She lives in Letcher County. I'm her senator. I have no doubt she's going to look at this one the same way she does that one. So you know what those folks are facing? They're facing $15 million and a potential 15% increase that they're going to have to get hit with. So, you know, I just tell you that. I guess I'm telling you that, and I'm sorry I'm swatting at this Nad. I've been swatting at him all the time. But I have a lot of confidence in these people, and they do not work for Adam or I. They do not. They work for you all. They work for me. We're taxpayers, and that's how they're paid. So, and the reason I tell you that, so my short time that I've been in Frankfort, you know, you kind of find your lane or something that you're interested in or something you can do. So I kind of got thrown into the energy side. So since the session's been out, I have been to Washington State. I've been to Boston. I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week. I'm going to Philadelphia. And I'm on a panel with 45 to 50 other legislators, and we're talking energy and what are other states doing. And there's no silver bullet. Some states, first person I met when I went and met a lady from New Mexico, and she lives in the #1 county that produces oil, and the #1 thing they're using to produce energy is oil. So there's no silver bullet. We're all scrambling. All states are scrambling. I thought Kentucky was behind, but we're all behind. Data centers, AI, you name it. And we're so far behind China and some of these other places, it's scary. It's scary. Somebody said a while ago, I think it was Joe, talking about China. Not only are they building a coal power plant every week, they're building one every day. Every day. So, you know, I hear people talk about coal's gone. Yeah, coal's going to be a whole lot harder to get, but we still have a lot of coal. And we've got to use our natural resources we've got here in Kentucky. Yeah, it'll never be like it was, Roger, when we were growing up, and, you know, we know that. It's never going to be like that again. But I also attended a couple power plants over the summer. Sherman Cooper Power Plant down in Somerset. Back when we had the real bad weather in January, they were burning coal, 2,200 tons a day of coal and gas. They were doing both. They said if they hadn't had the coal to burn during those 7 or 8 days that we had such bad weather, that those high electric bills that we got, $700-800, would have been 7 times that, because coal is cheaper to burn than gas is at that time. Gas is sold on what they call a spot market. And as there's more demand for it, it goes up. So they burn coal during that time. Everybody says, well, why aren't we looking into solar and windmills? Those legislators I've been with, none of them have more than 2% at the most in their grid that's making up their energy. Hey, it's fine. I wish wish we could get some, but it's not gonna. And them cold days like we have in January, and them hot days like you have in July and August, it ain't gonna do it. It ain't gonna make it. It's not gonna do it. So I tell you all that to tell you I have a lot of faith in this, what KU and Kentucky Power and all of them are requesting, but I also want to go a little bit further. And I want you to leave here today saying, well, he's taking up for him, because I've learned a whole lot in what short time I've been there. These folks, they have a formula that they have to use. And that $15 million charge that they denied, they didn't think it was something that Kentucky Power should have been eligible to receive. They denied it. That judge turned it over and said it was an eligible expense. So I have a lot of faith in how these people will decide this rate. I don't like it. And there's nobody that said anything up here that's not 100% right, but that woman right there, what she just said, that's what breaks my heart. You got to go out in your car and turn on your heat, and it's coming, guys. I mean, it's bad, but and we're working really hard. Adam and I were on a natural resource meeting today. We got up and left so we could get here. We're really searching for ways to create more energy. We've got something good really going on up here in Pathfork for the future. It's 6-8 years out, but it's going to be really good. I don't know, it's been in the news a little bit, but I wanted to tell you that story, just to tell you their path that they have to determine this. One other thing I want to tell you, think about putting $10,000 in the bank. You go to the bank, and what can you get right now? 4.5-5% interest on money. Is that about right? That goes into what the KU and Kentucky Power and these energy companies get. It's based off their investment that they put in. If they was taking $100 million and putting it in the bank, so this formula says they're allowed by statute to earn that type of money. And that's where these rates come from a lot of time. Well, what's their investment? I asked this question today. I've always wanted to ask this, and I felt dumb to ask it. I just asked it. It's a room full of people like you all. I said, for years, the only way you ever got a telephone pole replaced is somebody run over it, broke it, or had a storm and it broke. Well, I'm very thankful that there's so many people now that's linemen, because they make real good money. I mean, you all know that they make real good money. But I have never in my lifetime seen the lack of telephone poles and infrastructure that's getting replaced right now the last few years. Like I say, it's great that we're getting these jobs. They're making good money. Their response was, our infrastructure is so old and they're having to replace it. I don't know if that is. I don't know. I don't go out and look at these poles when they change them. I know a lot of them are bad. So I'm telling you some things that I've heard and I've learned while I've been in Frankfurt and while I've been going on these trips and trying to learn about energy. But the one thing I think you can leave here tonight, and these folks will make a fair decision. I have no doubt. And like Albie and several other people said, I don't know that any company has ever got what they asked for. I don't know. Have you ever done that? Have anybody ever got what they asked for, the top amount? Can y'all answer that?
I don't know. What?
Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah. Right. I agree with you. I agree.
We're considerably past your 5 minutes. We were letting you
I'm sorry.
wrap up, but
No, I understand. I feel you. I feel your frustration too. I'm right there with y'all. I support you. I hope we don't get any increase, but I'll be there. We'll still be there fighting for it and trying to do all we can. Adam, you up?
thank you. We got 5 more left. Next on the list is Judith Grice. Grise, I think, Judith.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name's Judith Grice. I live in Middlesboro. All my new neighbors. I'm not going to take a long time, but I am going to talk about something really important. And that is this culture of inevitability, that we are expected to continue to grab money out of our pockets and to not buy something that we need and to go without and to make our children go without so that super rich billionaires get their AI banks, their hyper data plants, their AI facilities, all of those, they get those built with special deals. Try to file a FOIA request for the contract that was with Meta AI that was built in Loudoun County, Virginia. There are so many backroom deals done that we don't exactly know what the terms of that contract are, but what we do know is they were given taxpayer money up front. They were given a promise that they would pay no taxes for 15 years. Now, remember that they expect their own product, their own AI product, to be obsolete in 5 years. So are they going to expand the plant, or are they going to shut it down like they did in Ireland when Apple went over to Ireland and then did not meet the terms of their contract and had to shut everything down? So it is not inevitable that we must pay 11 or 15% or hope that we only pay 8% when the CEO of the company is making almost $1 million a year before bonuses, and wants our children to not have warm winter clothes because he doesn't understand that when you add $25 to the electric bill and $50 to your taxes and $100 to all the new tariffed items that we have to buy for our kids and grandkids for school, there's 17 trillion imaginary dollars in our government's coffers now, but there's no transparency and there's no accountability. And what this is another money grab based on the idea that it's all inevitable, that they can shut our power off if we don't pay these things. And it's not right. It's not moral. It is immoral to ask people who have worked in coal mines and given up their health and given their security up so that another billionaire can buy another boat. And let's face it, if your goal is to put away $200 million this year, you can afford to give people a break on their utilities. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Jennifer Caldwell.
Jennifer Caldwell. I'm from up Cardinal.
Stand just a little closer to the mic, please.
I never needed a month. No, I got lunch. I don't want to. I'm Jennifer Caldwell. I live at Cardinal. It's in the Blackmore area. I don't think they deserve a raise at all. And my other big gripe is I don't know about anybody else, but I'm on a fixed income. My daughter is dealing with some medical issues. The other day we were in Lexington. I came home. Her power was off. They didn't give us no warning. She'd been in the hospital like 4 days. I called, and they said, we can turn it back on, so I paid it. But they used it off my debit card. That's good enough. Why do I have to pay $2.50 for them to do that? You pay it at KU. You didn't have to pay a charge because we had an office. You go to Pick Pack, you pay $2.50. You go to Kroger's, you pay $2.50. Already, you can't even pay your own bill without being charged to pay your bill. That's unfair because that adds another, what, $30 a year? And everyone in this building pays it. No matter where you pay your bill at, you pay $2.50. And that's become the standard pro code. And we do that what? My daughter has 220 in her house. We went to 110. I've been hitting 3 rooms for the last 2 winters. Electric bill was $742. I had the worst time last year. Took us 4 months. Her dad cut trees, done everything to pay it. People are struggling. A lot of people in our community are widows. The church gives them food box. We give a soup kitchen. We do a lot of things in the community to support the elderly. A lot of them say it makes a big difference where they get their medicine. A food box versus their medicine. How are they going to afford it at 11% raise? I can't afford it. The KU do a great job, don't get me wrong. We went a lot of times and had no trouble. Very rarely our power goes out. They do a lot to support the victims of storms and everything. My nephew is actually a lineman. When the storms hit the north, the south, they was on the truck already gone. He makes good money. He works hard. They follow a lot of safety rules. But virtually KU has been robbing us all for a long time. They closed their office so they don't support the community because there's no jobs there. You go pay your bill, no matter where you pay it, you pay extra $2.50 for Manus, whatever Manus is. As far as AI and all these other things, I don't know about that. I know I'm a coal miner's wife, a coal miner's daughter. I worked hard all my life, and I deserve to have some peace. I don't need to worry about whether my kid's going to get her medicine or if I'm going to be able to keep her lights on. And you would feel the same way if your kid was 33 years old, got sick during COVID. She has a brain injury. Nobody can tell us what's wrong with her. And we pick and choose every day between groceries, medicine, and what bill gets paid. And that's just the way it is for people here. We're proud people. We worked hard. And that's all I have to say is I don't understand why we have to pay $2.50 the people that do manage to pay their bills. Do you know what Manus is? Can you explain it to me? Why you got to pay a $2.50 fee no matter where you pay your bill at? Was you even aware of that?
We can't answer questions tonight, but you could always call and file a consumer complaint about an issue like that.
I already did that. But they don't have no answer. Nobody can answer me what Manus is and why we have to pay it.
Talk to us about that.
Okay, thank you.
Carolyn Mason. I'm sorry, I thought somebody was getting up. It looks like Carolyn Mason. She left. Okay. All right.
What's like on the list? Feet. I can't.
There it is, Carolyn Mason.
Oh, thank you.
I need a little podium. I'm going to try not to mess this up. Here we go. This up a little bit. The sound quality is not the best. Did I just turn it off? I'm sorry. Thank you, darling. Get that going. Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, I can hear myself now. Okay. It's a little bit low. Okay. As a volunteer with the seniors, today I would like to be the voice for them. And as I look around, I see that most of this audience is filled with seniors from Bell County. Our seniors are often forgotten in our society, including the sacrifices that they've made as well as the contributions to our area. I'd like my comments to serve as opposition to the proposed rate increase for case number 2025-00113 and ask that the Commission reject all residential increases. I'd like to welcome the PSC to Bell County. Of the 120 counties in Kentucky, Bell County ranks as the 6th poorest county in the state, with our poverty level in Bell County at 28.9% versus the national average of 10.6%. There is only a 0.3% difference representing the poorest county, Magoffin, and Bell County. Our population has decreased almost 18% since 2010. That means you have less residential customers, over 5,600 less, and therefore less residential energy demand. In the state of Kentucky, the growth rate is only 0.4%. So not a lot of residential growth across the Commonwealth. Of the remaining population in Bell County, 27% are 60 and older. So how does Bell County rank as far as income? The median household income, and this is for at least 4 people, is $32,403. About half the amount of the average for the state of Kentucky. The state of Kentucky is at $62,417, and only 2/5 of the amount in the United States, which is $78,000. The state of Kentucky is considered a poor state and ranked nationally 47 out of 50. Chairperson Hutton and Commissioner Wood, per your appointment by Governor Beshear, your rate-making process is governed by the KRS 278. It must be fair, just, and reasonable. A key consideration is that a higher fixed rate component would be unduly burdensome on the lower income families. Well, the service area for KU is low income families. So the first 2 points of my opposition are, number 1, the poverty rate of Bell County and the state of Kentucky, and 2, the residential demand is decreasing rapidly in Bell County and across the KU service areas. KU is located in 77 counties in Kentucky while servicing only 545,000 residential customers in Kentucky. Now, out of those 77 counties, 70 of those counties are in poverty. Okay? So only 7 counties, that means 7 counties only go above the threshold of the poverty rate. We have widows and widowers at our local senior centers that live on less than $900 a month. The proposed 11% increase would not only be $18.15 a month, this amount does not include other taxes and add-ons. In reality, this amount would be closer to $27 or more per month. So this is significant to our population, particularly our seniors. They do not live lavish. They do not have internet or cable because they can't afford it. They try to consume as little energy and electricity as possible.
Some use flashlights in their homes to avoid turning on lights so they won't, quote, run up the electric bill. They hang clothes to dry instead of using a dryer. This increase represents meals or medicine that these folks cannot buy. Some hard-hearted folks may say, hey, they should have saved. It's hard to save when you're working at a minimum wage job or a part-time job, which is mostly what our areas offer. Plus, seniors across the state have just lost many additional services, including but not limited to home-delivered meals that they depended on. Due to unexpected cuts to the seniors' nonprofit budget in September, again, this represents an undue burden on low-income families and individuals. Now, I've talked about the numbers locally, and I want to talk about the parent company, PPL. PPL is asking the poorest of the poor in the nation to pay 11.5% increase in their residential bill, while Vince Sergi, the CEO of PPL, received a 31% increase in his salary and benefits and compensation to over $11 million. PPL earnings are up and expected to be 6 to 8% annual dividend growth. The profits were over $6.1 billion last year. Now, I'm pro-corporation. I came from corporations. That's where I've worked. I'm pro-business. I'm pro-earnings. But we cannot finance the infrastructure for companies on the backs of poor Kentucky residents. And that is what PPL is doing. So why would PPL ask for this increase from Kentucky KU customers? In the 2024 investor meeting, PPL stated that it operates one of the best generation fleets in the U.S., and that's right here in Kentucky, with a strong engineering and construction team with the skills needed to develop and operate generation assets. In 2024, this was a huge asset, but now they need 11.4% from us, the poor people. So the reason for the rate increase in PPL it can be summed up in two words: data centers. That's what this is about.
You're a couple minutes over.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read this for just a second. They consume huge amounts of electricity while employing very minimal staff. This will not help the residents of Kentucky. Data centers don't help Kentucky. Okay, they use up lots of our energy and don't employ people. So my question is, why would the residents of Kentucky be paying the bill for these corporate entities? PPL has had a 15-year contract at 80% for these data centers. Who is paying the remainder 20%? Lastly, in their investor meeting notes, PPL plans to ask for rate increases for their Pennsylvania residents by the end of 2025. Is Rhode Island next? Lastly, the seniors in our county and across our state will be financially hurt by this increase, as will be other poor working families. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Lou Osborne. My legal name for specialists and doctors is Mary Lou, but most people here would know me as Piddle Grace Osborne. And I want to welcome you all first to Bell County. I would like to say that I'm a KU kid. My dad worked for KU for over 35 years. I worked for KU for 7 years. My husband and his father worked for KU. However, when rumblings first came about, and I'm not beating a dead horse, I know you can't do anything about it,
But when there were rumblings of a KU LG&E merger, I can remember my dad saying KU was founded by engineers who built infrastructure and kept the lights on. LG&E was built by accountants and bean counters, and they're looking at short-term profits. In 1999, I think, was about the time of the merger between KU and LG&E. When that happened, the first thing that was done was they cut $8 million out of the Mountain Division tree trimming budget. Why did they do that? For short-term profit. Okay, guess what happens when a storm, an ice storm, a snowstorm, a heavy rainstorm comes up? Trees fall on lines that haven't been trimmed. But yet, they could charge that off to an emergency or a catastrophic event. And yet, they kept the money and they didn't continue to run the company in a respectful and profitable way. Now, that's the history of the merger, and I was proud to be a KU kid and grow up in this, but this is exorbitant. This rate increase is exorbitant. I will tell you, I'm going to be 69 years old in 2 days. Happy birthday to me. I still am working part-time to have money. There's a young lady that works with us, and I work part-time at the Bell County Public Library. She has 6 children. She's working to get her GED to get a good job. Her family goes to old, defunct sawmills to pick up wood, to burn wood in their house for heat. They have electricity, but they can't afford to run electricity. These are 6 children from ages 3 through about 14. That have coal as their own, not coal, excuse me. They are burning wood that they can pick up. When we trim trees in our yard, I save the wood and they come up and pick it up so that they have something to burn to keep those children warm. So KU does not, let me ask you all, have you been to, I'm sure you have you been to the LG&E building in Louisville? You've not? Take a field trip. It looks like a Boston bank. You walk in there, huge, huge ceilings, marble inlaid floors, marble walls. I mean, and then you look at the KU office that was in Lexington at 1 Quality Street. It looked like a Kleenex box. It is not at all attractive. It's just, but it's like when they get so big and there is, as someone said, a monopoly, they think, well, the little guys don't care. The little guys don't matter. They'll never know. But I would challenge you in whatever way possible to challenge their board, the PPL, the board of directors, to say, okay, if times are that hard that you all need this increase, let's not do the increase. Let's cut back on bonuses. I appreciate all our linemen. I do. I think our linemen are wonderful. But yet, okay, the local offices are closed, as the lady from Hewlin, I think, was it Hewlin, said, $250 for each online bill payment that people have to make. That adds up. Guess what? The City of Pineville Utility District, I'm able to pay my bill online with, wait a minute, KU calls it a convenience fee to pay it that way. The City of Pineville Utility District, I'm able to pay my water bill online with no water and garbage, with no convenience fee. There's absolutely no fee. So KU or Delta Gas cannot say, oh, we have no choice, we have to do that. Well, they've saved so dang much money by closing every local office. Then why not apply that savings to be able to let us pay the bills without the add-on fee? So that does upset me, I will say. When I was a kid, my dad was so KU proud because it was a big employer in the county and people knew that and they were happy to work there. But I can remember my daddy saying, KU service territory has the lowest energy rates of any place except Washington State because they deal on hydropower and we have to buy coal. And yet, what is our thing now after all of these mergers? What are our rates like at that? I guess I'm out of time. I do want to say if they're having all of this improvement, like they can not send a lineman out to cut someone off, or they can push a button and do it, then they need to make more efforts at notifying families before they cut them off. They'll say, "Oh, well, we sent them a letter, we sent them this, we sent them that." Well, if your child is in the hospital and you're in Louisville or Cincinnati or Nashville or Knoxville at the hospital, you're not looking at your mail. And when people are getting home on a Friday night and don't have electricity, that's earth-shattering to families. So thank you all for coming. We hope and pray for your good judgment and wisdom as you process this. Thank you.
And the last one I have signed up is Representative Bowling, and then we'll go back and see if anybody's changed their mind and wants to speak.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'll start with I really do appreciate you all coming out, facing the public, hearing the concerns of people. I know you said this is your third out of four, I think, on this rate case, and I do appreciate you all coming today and allowing people to stand up and talk and say what they believe in. So thank you very much. When I think about where we sit today and the rate increase that's before you, I look at kind of what our people have faced the last 4 to 5 years coming out of COVID. And we're in an environment where they've been hit with increases for anything and everything coming and going, whether it's gas, groceries, more expense on their vehicles. Insurance rates have gone up, both on their property, their residence, on their vehicles. It's just, they've been hit with a tsunami lately. And when you look and you've got another cost coming to them, an 11.5% increase possibly coming to them, that's going to put a lot of people in a really, really, really bad spot. And I have grave concerns over that. I'm concerned for our seniors, folks on disability, on a fixed income, folks that are lower down on the economic rung. I have real concerns about that, because having electricity on or not, you have to have it in today's world. And when people, they can't go without. If they go without, it's dangerous for them. If they choose to pay their electric, then they're going to have to cut back in other areas. For seniors, can I afford the copay on that medicine this month? I'm not sure. For our small businesses, for our working families, people that are having to pay more, they're not spending as much at our local shops and in our local economy, and that money circulating, it lifted everybody up. So I have grave concerns about that. And I respectfully request a 0% increase, but at the very least, a highly reduced from that 11.5%. And I do want to say to the folks here, and I'll be quick. A lot has been said, but thank you all for coming. Thank you for speaking up. A lot of great points have been brought up today. You all represented yourselves well. You represented our area well. You stated your cases well. And I thank you all for being here and doing that. We're in a place, back in around 2009, our energy policy in the United States, it changed. And that's just a fact. That's where we are. Coal was always the number one energy producing source that we had in this country. And we made a decision politically to move away from that. Now, that has hurt our area worse than most, because we're the ones that have it surrounding us in all these mountains right here. And I think it was Miss Johnson said the rates over the past 8 to 10 years, they've doubled. Put that timeline up with how our national energy policy has changed, and that's an issue. And then you look out, and we can sit here and we can badmouth the PSC or badmouth LG&E and KU and all these things, but at the crux of the problem is you've got blockchain, you've got cryptocurrency, you've got data centers, you've got AI coming online. There's more demand for electricity than ever before in our history. And what we're doing is we're looking at the number one source, the most reliable and the cheapest form of electricity, and we've removed it as an option. I mean, it's until that changes, we're going to be back here in 3 years. We're going to be back here in 3 years after that. We're going to be back here in 3 years after that. And there's going to be rate increases and rate increases and rate increases. But that's the crux of the problem. You've got to bring more supply online. And we've got to change our policy as a country, or else we're going to get left behind. And I know, and I hear arguments out, all the good coal, it's all been mined. It's all gone. Baloney. It's been overregulated to add costs to it here in the United States to where we can't do it. There is coal mined in eastern Kentucky that is mined, loaded on a train, taken to a port, loaded onto a barge, shipped to China, unloaded from the barge onto a train, taken to their electric plants, and burned there. And you're telling me it's too expensive for us to do it? That's baloney. We have got to change our policies. We have got to change our policies as a nation, as a country, or we're going to get more of the same. And that gets to the very heart of the issue about what we're facing today and the environment we're in. So again, commission members, thank you so much for being here. Respectfully, I ask for no increase, but at the very least, the smallest possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's the last one that signed up that said yes, they wanted to speak, but if anybody else has changed their mind, we're still here and we'll listen if you want to come up.
Hello there. My name is Rebecca Brooks. I live at 159 Willow Street here in Middlesboro.
The thing about it is that I have no doubt in my mind that there is a lot of cost, what it takes to run and keep your upgrades going. Because like he said, there is more things that are making the requirements for more energy. I can see that. But, the thing that's bothering me here the most is that we're here in Bell County. We're one of the poorest counties here. I guess because, you have a lot of lack of jobs. You have a lot of decrease in population here. Everybody's moving away because they're going somewhere else to work because there's nothing here. Then, here they say the electric company is proposing to remove our storm expense. I mean, where we live out in this area here, we do have our fair share of bad weather, whether it be from the winter to the summer, from, ice storms to tornadoes, flooding, we have it. And they was talking about raising the 15% up in near Perry County and all that. Well, my daughter went to college up there at Alice Lloyd. That's one of the most beautiful communities I've ever seen. And I don't know how they can look at them and say 15% more. But anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say, me and my husband both work very good jobs. I was a home health nurse. My husband was a truck driver. Well, if you want to see some really poor people that are having it hard to decide what to do, where to go with on their money, you ought to spend a day with a home health nurse and go throughout the county and see how poor these people are. Then another thing is that my husband is now at home, basically bedbound because he has MS now. He draws his check
we are still having to buy medical equipment. Why? Because his insurance doesn't cover it. So that's what I'm saying when I see people's having to make the decision of, do I pay for this? Do I pay for this? I mean, you have to weigh your balances and figure that out. But, you know, we do have coal here, and I wish they would just bring everything back and start mining our coal mines again, because that is a natural resource to us. And I do believe that when we did have this, we did have one of the lowest Kentucky utilities balance, or billing here, because we had that coal to fall back on. But I mean, thank you for coming. I just don't see how they can decide on 11% or 11.5%, because I was figuring that, say, 2.5%, that you get a $5 raise. You know, that's $5 and 12 cents, maybe 13 cents. But if you go to the 12 or 11% that they're asking, say $200, and they increase it by 11%, that's $222. So who's actually coming out to the better of this? The one that's asking for the highest amount, from people that don't even make $22 extra a month. So thanks. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Did anyone else want a chance to speak?
I forgot one thing. Well, one of the things that Kentucky Power's toying with doing or looking at doing is possibly having a tiered rate for low income, and maybe charge a little more to higher users or commercial users. I don't know if y'all can have any conversation with KU about that, but you know, you're going to hear that through the Kentucky Power. So that was one thing that I got today in their meeting that they're looking at doing, is having a different rate structure for fixed income folks. Thank you.
Okay. I swore like 10 meetings ago that I wasn't going to let people talk more than once, because it doesn't stop. People just, and sometimes there's two sides to a case and everybody's got a rebut, but I'm going to let one more person go twice. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I was a little excited earlier, so I forgot to mention the most important part, and I will keep this short. So Loudoun County, Virginia, during COVID, had a huge explosion of AI plants, battery plants, all that being built. And one of the things that happened was a lot of the people that lived in Maryland, because they were served by that utility, they were eating and they were being required to pay for the new AI bank that was built. It was Meta AI. And the deal that was worked was a lot of upfront money of taxpayers' dollars, and then they subsidized them for 15 years, saying you don't need to pay taxes for 15 years. And then they said anything that needed to be made up, the local people would make it up. But what happened was all these people in Maryland were paying for the bank that was built in Virginia, because that was part of the deal. So Jamie Raskin from Maryland, a congressman from Maryland, said, oh no, we do not have to accept inevitability that the poor people are going to continue to pay, so that the rich people at the very top get a little more money or get a lot more money. So they wrote legislation that stopped Marylanders from paying extra money on their electric bills in order, because it was Virginia where the big plant was built, and that's where the deals were made. But Marylanders were being directly impacted on the deal made in Virginia. And that was kind of where I wanted to go with, we need more transparency for all of these deals before they come to us and say, we only asked for 11% more. I want to know how many taxpayer dollars built that plant, how many years they're getting a break on their taxes while they're expecting us to pick up the extra cost of that. And that was my point. Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate you. I was a little nervous.
Thank you.
And that was it. Thank you for coming.
Okay. So I'll just remind everybody one more time that if you want to submit comments, just go to the psc.ky.gov website, psc.ky.gov. You can look at all the case filings for this case and others. You can watch public comment hearings. Like someone said, there have been 3 already, and there'll be 1 more in Madisonville, Kentucky. So you can watch all of them. You can still submit by email. And if there's nothing further, we're adjourned.